Welcome back to Hibou's live streaming adventure. So today we are moving on to Missouri. Missouri I have never been to, and I can say without a doubt was the most time-consuming payroll implementation that I have ever done. So hopefully the migration will go really easy. We will start off by closing down everything we had up for the prior states. And let's get our run contacts set up so that we can actually run tests on this instance. All right, so honestly, Missouri is not that easy to spell either. I'm just gonna put MO. It's true. I copied and pasted it to start the stream off. I don't spell. I'm pretty sure I did learn to spell Missouri during the several hours that it took to program Missouri, but that's neither here nor there now. So, run some tests, see how those go. In the meantime, I'm going to pull open a window off to the side here and find what I can find about Missouri table rates and stuff. Got a cat in the background, by the way. Oh, this is interesting. What do we... Okay, so our prior tests had some... I think are really starting to show us some of the implications of how complicated the Missouri stuff is, because our tests have to look at what the federal income taxes withheld. That's never great, never ideal. All right, so now we have a withholding, and we compare that withholding to something. I mean, obviously part of the Missouri stuff has to do with the federal withholding. So we are going to change this to EE_US. Actually, I think it's pretty close to that, just with EE on the beginning of it to indicate that it's an employee paid tax. So let's find other Fed Inc. Put EE on the front of it. At least that two. I was hopeful that's as many as we actually had. All right, so that's that. So we should be able to hopefully pass tests for 2018 at this point. In the meantime, let's see what we can find in here for documentation. So here's a calculation form. Pull this up. Alright, so I want this same form, but for the new year, and oh, we still have errors. Oh, it's not EE Fed though. Try that again. All right, so I have a document up here, which is the same document we were just looking at. State of Missouri's Employment Tax Guide. No form number that I see. Here we are, for Form 4282, revision for 2018. So let's find it for 4282. What was that? 4282. 4282 is form. Oh, here we go. All right, that's obviously interesting. So that's supposed to say Missouri, and it doesn't. It says something else. And scroll down here. So it might help to have both of these up at the same time, side by side, so that I can compare and contrast some of these things. So I'm gonna pull one out here, have them both up. All right, so first table is federal income tax deduction for 2019. It's different. It's limited. An individual's federal income tax deduction is limited to $5,000 or $10,000 if combined. In the 2018 legislative session, effective for tax year 2019, federal income tax deduction taxpayers may claim is prorated based on the taxpayer's Missouri Adjusted Gross Income, or AGI. In an attempt to ease implementation of new withholding formula, the Department of Revenue chose to remove the federal tax deduction from the withholding tax. Look at that, they simplified their stuff. All right. This change may result in a small increase in the amounts withheld from employees' paychecks. Any withholding in excess of tax owed will be refunded to the taxpayers filed, blah, blah, blah. That's pretty typical. Obviously, if you're doing a withholding, it's kind of an estimated withholding, and then you're going to refund anything that's different. I guess she needs to go away. Yeah, I mean, she's just going to sit there and cry all day. She's going to have to go to her room. I still see that there's a not to exceed $5,000 for a single taxpayer or $10,000 for combined returns, which is something that they mentioned in the last one. So could be interesting. Could be whole new rates and rules and stuff. Okay, so Missouri looks like you can, if you have less than 250 employees, you can use the normal W-2s, it appears. It's hard to say. And the non-resident stuff appears to have stayed the same. The whole block seems to be the same. Rounding for Missouri returns. Typical rounding, basically 50 cents goes up, and less than 50 cents of 49 or less goes down. Okay, so this bit has changed, although not substantially. Did our test pass? No, they didn't. Okay. We're obviously going to need to look up what that was named because I can't guess it. We were close. Okay. Performance days in Missouri / total performance. Oh my God. How could that be? So basically they are all off, and they are all, the actual computed by rule amount is more than the expectation of them. And trying to wrap my brains on why that could have been. The only thing I could think of would be the gross versus basic. Let's take a look here. So what could be affecting the gross? Another thing we can do is run this in a brand new database because it's possible that it's interacting with some of the other rules or changes that are already in here. So let's try that. We can run this in a second database. Will take significantly longer, but we have a significant amount of stuff to read through. So we'll put a 2 on the end of this test name or database name. And now when we run it, it's going to take significantly longer because it'll need to run all the tests for installing HR, etc. Okay, so performance days for the year equals Missouri income percentage. So income percentage times the total income equals Missouri income. Missouri income times 5.4% equals Missouri withholding tax. And that's down from 6% from 2018. Okay, so far that's the same. So then we say Missouri income percentage times total income equals Missouri income. Okay, Missouri income times percent equals Missouri withholding, and my trackpad's dead. Well, we have test passing, but they're probably not the same tests. Okay. Most of this looks to be the same. Would be 60% of the total wages, so that's this fine. Withholding withheld on 20,000. Therefore, if $100 per month should be withheld for an individual earning 20,000. I like that. I like that they just propose it. If 100, not that 100 should be for an individual. So it kind of sounds like you calculate the tax on the total amount and then multiply it by how much. All right, well, I guess we'll find out when we get to the code for it. Withhold a flat percentage of 5.4%. And then we've got this additional bit over here. The numbers are still the same on both documents, which I think is confusing because well, I saw 6% earlier, and now in the 2018 it says 5.9%, which is interesting. So we see 5.9% right here, but if we scroll up a little bit here, we have 6%, so that's inconsistent. But thankfully over here on the new one, though, I believe it's 5.4 in both places. Maybe it's just a supplemental wage rate. It's still sub 5.4, so that's already strictly better. Okay, bunch of filing frequency stuff. So Okay, determine the total employees' total taxable wages, which is gross for us. Multiply that amount by the number of payroll periods you have in a year, okay, to get basically your annual wage. Multiply to filing status, which we already know, so there's some kind of basic amounts here that we'll need to write down. See if those changed year over year. Okay, so there's a whole lot more pages between the start and where we are, but it does have the same thing. The amounts are slightly different. These have all changed by just a little bit. This one's 24,400 and this one's 18,350 versus 2,400 even and 1,800 even. Okay, so I did hear failures, and they're probably exactly the same failures we had before. Indeed, they are. I wonder at what point that changed or stopped behaving the same. Well, regardless, it's time to do the migration, and I guess focus primarily on testing 2019 rates, because otherwise we'd be here all day. Can't change what happened in last year. It already happened. So we will start off by making a folder for models, since I didn't follow that convention initially. Nope. New directory for views. Okay, so we're going to rename this to be just rules, and we can at the same time go and copy a rates file from one of the other ones. Well, that one's going to be extra big and complicated. Let's just get the Florida one. Alright, so let's change this to MO. I don't actually even know what we've got ourselves into. So let's start with our base. So we've got some contribution registers. We have several. No, sorry, just two. Okay, so we have unemployment, and we have some unemployment wages. So this is going to be wage, US, MO, unemployment. Okay, so we've got our categories renamed and reworked. Let's pop over into our rules. Start from the top here. So we will lose the date, and we're going to put wage in front. All right, so this we're going to bring from basically the contract.futa type. That should be the same as some of our other stuff. So if we go and peek into Florida rules, we should see the same thing. Contract futa type not equal to contract futa type basic. All right, so we will define a new variable for a year. Slip.dict.date 2. Call it 4. Okay, so we have a wage base for this as 12,500. So we will extract that into a rule and get that rate, or rather a rate, and we will collect that rate. So we will say rate equals payslip.dict.get rate, and this is going to be USMO on an imp. Okay. Then this, this is going to be wage USMO on imp. All right, and then this can be rate dot wage limit year, and that was 12,500. So let's go put that into our rates. Don't know what the default rate is. Let's go see if we have it in our tests. Hold up. Where's our rates file? Oh no, that's even worse. Be careful. All right, MO. Look, I spelled it right. Okay, so this is going to be 12,500. I'm going to assume it's the same here. Let me see what we can find. Of course not. Probably because all this is literally about income withholding and not about unemployment insurance. So let me search for that. Okay, so the beginning rate in 2018 was 2.511, which actually reminds me we need to have better precision in our rates module. Maybe we'll go and make that change right now. All right, so our actual rate needs precision digits or something like that. I don't actually remember what the name of that is. Let me think of a place that I've used that. Order search. Okay, there it is. Digits 6, 2, for example. And that sounds actually pretty good, 6 digits or so. Unless the 6 part is... Let's see what else we can find. 16.4 sounds even better. 12 res currency, that sounds good. 12.6. So I'm gonna guess this is 12 total digits and then 6 decimal digits, which we could probably get away with something more like 10.6, but let's go ahead and do the 6 part. 12.6 is fine too. All right. Let's upgrade this database. By the way, so we didn't get anything out of going to the second database, so I'm going to go ahead and edit the configuration and run it all in the same place. Actually, test precision. Basically, just store at least 4 or 5 digits of precision, like that, and then make sure that they are equal, or at least very, very close. So what we'll do is we'll take our rate and multiply it. So we'll say so this should fail. I expect it to. Indeed, because there's not enough precision. Am I off by a digit too? I am, so I need to multiply it by one more number, but it won't matter, or at least it shouldn't, actually. That's a good question. sorry, where is it running? Oh, it's upgrading all of the payroll modules that we have installed so far, so it's quite a bit. I'm going to stop that, and great, so now I'll run it again, and we'll just we only care about the initial tests. Most initial ones, anyway. Okay. But that's not good because it passed. Curious. Must have those many decimal digit precisions regardless of what it's displaying to the end user. We do ultimately need more precision displayed to the end user because it definitely does round. So I'm going to go ahead and use this one, and as long as it still passed the test, then I will consider that to be good enough. Another new module there. The name of the module? Probably. Or name of the model, rather. Let's find out. hr.payroll.rate. Yeah. Don't need to build right away. Alright, push that up. Alright. Alright, allegedly it was 2.511, so moving back to our tests for Missouri, see what we had for the initial employer pieces. See if we even have calculation for something like that. There it is, 2.511, so that is going to be our initial rate for 2018. And now for 2019 we're going to have a new rate, which is going to be 2.376. Okay, and our base wage. Okay, so it was 12,500 before, indeed it was, and now it's actually dropped down to just 12,000. All right, so that's easy enough. So now we've got rate dot wage limit year. We already put the rate itself into it, so now we will come on down to this one and just keep refactoring. This becomes the Missouri unemployment. Okay, we're going to use the same exact condition, if you will, here. But this is going to change. This goes away. Oops. All right, so now we get to income withholding, which is the complicated one. Okay. What are we trying to achieve here? And let's compare it with last year's. Interesting. Well, here's our 2018 one. Let's try to see if we can find this 5.5, say. Okay, here we go. Income withholding percentage tax. So we have our, over here we have our 1.5 up through our 5.9 with something that looks a little bit like a float max or something to that effect over here. Then we have a variety of these different tables, which we may or may not have. No, because we work with more with this PP stuff. All right, so we'll come down here. Okay, so let's make sense of this. Okay, so I found the 1028 bit. Also, there's this 1028 here. And I see that as well, by the way. It's also in the same table. So we have 1028s and rates, and then we have these over here. So I also see the 5.9 stuff show up. Versus the 6% even. Okay, so all of these will stay exactly the same way. The filing status to get how many pay periods are in the year effectively are going to be the same. So now we've got our PP times our wages to get our gross salary for the year. And then we will deduction -1 if filing status single or filing status married and spouse employed. Then we have 1,000 that. Otherwise, we've got 1,200, which I believe is supposed to be this. This actually says 1,300, but it's 1,200 in the formula. I'm wondering if that might have something to do with it, but we should find the other ones as well, not just the example one, to really tell. All right, well then, where does the standard deduction come from? Ah, here we go. Okay. Standard deduction is 1,200. This is even for 2018, which is the strange part. Or sorry, 12,000. That's fine. Filing status single or married and spouses employed. Do we divide this by 2? Is that the idea? Yeah, kind of looks like it. I still feel like this is supposed to be 12,000. Annual deduction is 24,000 divided by 2. So we have our gross salary, standard deduction, annual amounts, single, 12,000. So I don't see where we don't have 12,000 here. I don't see where we don't have and then we have 18,000 here. Because that's what I would kind of expect. Okay, so let's just say that we had those amounts. I also don't know why we have deduction, well, why we have a sentinel here. I guess just in case we didn't find the correct type of deduction. Okay. At least back in 2018, we cared about the income tax stuff. Okay. Truly do not understand why these numbers wouldn't be. It's possible that we coded this in early, and we did technically code this early in 2018. They might not have had their total 2018 stuff ready. Regardless, let's start making 2019 work. If filing status. Presumably they can have an exempt file status or something like that. Let's grab our year. So now I will both copy and indent all of this. Because I need to copy it once it's been indented too. Alright, so let's get the 2019 up. Scroll, scroll, scroll until we find it. Okay. Gross income, which we already feel like we have for sure. We'll come down to these withholdings or deductions here. Okay, so this is going to be 12,200. I'll drag this off here now. 12,200. The married and not spouse employed is going to be the 24,400. And then this last one, this head of household one, is going to be 18,350. Okay. Okay. I don't know how we managed to accomplish this without looking at the federal unemployment, but it doesn't really matter, I suppose. Okay, so if step 2 is the standard deduction, then the step 3 is going to be Missouri taxable income. Subtract the annual standard deduction from the annual gross income. So let's go and see where that happens, or if it happens, because this is a change over from one year to another. We have allowances, which is not something that's discussed in this form, at least not in this part, so that's interesting. So ignoring that, here's our category as federal income withhold, which is going to be wrong. And that's probably actually why the tests don't pass. Okay, so this part goes away. And the Missouri taxable wage. Oh, look at that. Did we just finish? No, hold on. We're running tests for the payroll rates. Stop that. And get this up. Let's run our Missouri ones. Okay, so our Missouri taxable income between our gross salary, less our deduction, potentially less the allowances, and then we're going to take this bit off because we don't care anymore. I don't know why it's running the base tests. Okay, remaining taxable income is Missouri taxable income, because then what we do is we go through our tax and apply these various rates. And then tax divided by pay period. Yeah, that's true. Okay, so far so good. Small tax. Additional, we don't have any additional at the moment, but that's good. Okay, so I think that that's probably good, and I think we ultimately answered why our tests weren't passing is because of the fact that our rate itself, or rather the rule from last year needed to look at the federal income tax stuff. Don't know why it ran all that. All right, so I think we have a error somewhere in here. We'll find it. Okay, boom. So much faster than the first time when it ran all those other tests. Okay, so we can't, file not found, rules 2018, obviously. Okay, so now we're midway through migrating the tests and we really need to start working on that. Also, we need to clean this up because this is kind of the point of the rate stuff. We can get rid of a lot of this. So we no longer need this calculation for different years. And we no longer need a different unemployment per company, so that goes away. And that also means that the views related to putting it on the company form can go away. Great, and so now we can come back to our tests. We're going to extract this out and make it into a class variable. All right, so we don't care about that anymore. Don't care about that because we just fixed it. And now this becomes times self.mo unemployment. Great. So we've got some hard-coded constants in here that are a little strange, but they're from the last year, so not going to worry about them. We have partially re-implemented some of the methods from that one because it is kind of a complicated one. And that looks probably okay other than this, which is going to be US. Actually, some of these other ones might be wrong too. Pretty good chance this will pass. Let's see here. No chat. Going to go ahead and throw this up into chat just in case anybody ever comes across it. Wants to play along at home. Still failing. Okay, so we actually got one test to pass, by the way. We had all three failing. Now we have one error and one failing test. So one error version is that there is no income tax withholding here. And that's probably because of the fact that it's salary basic or something like that. So let's take a look. This is on line 220. 220. Oh, well that's not. Okay, so that one might be okay. And let's take a look at the other one. We're on line 50. 50. Okay. So we're saying that it should be equal to our salary, and it's on the first pay slip, so that is true. Wage, USMO, unemployment, salary. Okay. Okay, so let's go and look at this one right here. We're getting our rate for USMO unimp. Let's go look at our rates though. Or rather, let's include our rates because we haven't yet. That's important. There we go. So we have all of the old tests passing. So it's time to write the new tests. We'll come into here. We will duplicate this line, then empty it more or less. Or not empty it. We will comment out the first test because I don't need that to run anymore. 2019. Duplicate this. Alright, so first things first, any instances of 2018 we will replace with 2019. And any instances of 2017, which we don't have any, we'd replace with 2018, but we don't have any, so that's good. Alright. Gonna bump this up to our new rates, which is 2.376, and any of the 12,500 will reduce as well. So let's go find that. And we didn't have any instances of 12,500, but I find that to be suspicious. Okay, oh, was our tax table any different? Never found that. Okay, I found it partially anyway. Turn this over here. So here's our rates. 5, 2, 2.5, 3, 3.5, 5.4. change that in our rules as well, which we will need to redefine, meaning with this tax variable, we'll need to go into the year calculation piece. Okay, and hopefully we'll find that in another way as well. All right, so those numbers are going to change from 1028 to 1053 per this change here. And then basically anything over is going to be that 5.4, which we did see, which is dramatically reduced. All right, so we'll take this off here. All this is going to change into being 53, so we'll highlight this. That's did a somewhat strange thing for having something highlighted. And I'll need to do that in the test as well. So let's go find that tax rate here. Okay. Now they always take the annual standard deduction and divide it by 2. So there's that 24th. I don't know why they do it like this. Why is the annual standard deduction divided by 2? All right, well, this is obviously going to be our closest example one. All right, so let's see here. We've got 12 pay periods, salary times pay periods, best employed false, that's fine. Standard deduction, 6,500, which is not the case. So it's going to be just 6,000. No, wait, it's 12. Hold on. 12,200 divided by 2, I guess. So it's 6,100. Need to figure out what the allowances are supposed to be and what is even going on with this. Okay. Don't need this anymore. Don't need this anymore. And now we don't need this anymore. Which I guess I understand why there's such exotic logging statements now. Or rather, I remember why. Okay. Or the 24,400 divided by 2. So I guess this is 12,200. So we need to Do we divide those by 2? I don't understand. They were already potentially divided by 2. Yeah, so I guess we just need to divide all these by 2. All right, so we need to find this strange table where certain allowances get you a certain amount and then other ones don't, and plug in the numbers basically. But we will look at that in a little bit. All right, so both, we divide by 2. Let's go back to our test. Who knows about the allowances? Married. Don't need any of this anymore, which is awesome. Obviously that's going to be wrong. $18,350 divided by 2. 91.75. Maybe we should just put the whole thing in though. $3,500 is obviously suspicious, but we'll come back to it. All right, so we don't need this part anymore. All right, so while that runs, and it may pass, but the real question is what are our allowances or whatever being paid out, so I will try to find that. Of course it passes. It passes because we changed things in both places, but so far I haven't found a reason not to expect it to pass. So what I'm really looking for is the allowances though now. Ooh. Department of Revenue encourages all employees to review their W-4 and make corresponding changes based on their filing status. There are no longer allowances in the Missouri withholding tables. Employees can no longer increase or decrease the amount withheld from their paycheck by claiming allowances that are not consistent with their specific filing situation. If the employees need additional amounts, they should add the additional amounts to line 2, which is presumably the addition. So we can actually get rid of allowances, or rather exemptions, I guess. So we can set those allowance calculated. We're just going to change this all to 0. And we'll still allow them to fill the form out however they want because of the fact that ultimately they used to be able to have exemptions or allowances. Okay, so we will set that to 0. It's good that they're simplifying their things, because to be perfectly honest, in the old Missouri stuff was more complicated. So we will come back to rules, and we will make sure that we are in our area related to allowances. And really, I'm not going to remove the part about allowances. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to set the additional, not the additional, sorry, hold on, exemptions. Going to set exemptions equal to 0 if the year is 2019. And that will make it so that theoretically, if exemptions get added again in other years, it'll potentially start working the same exact way. But my guess would be it would need rework. So I'm just going to come on in here and say if year equals 2019, then and I will leave myself a little note about that. Do I not need that? Because it's in the parentheses, I assume. Let's make sure that installs still. Give a little hint. Shout out to the people filling out the Missouri W4 exemptions area. They're filling out wrong if they put something in there. Test pass. 2019 test pass. Let's commit some code. I just moved them. It'll figure it out though. Wage. Okay. Surprised it's not a rename. I guess because of all the work we've done. Doesn't really matter. And a more simplified one in there. Okay. Alright, so let's go find my comments for some of these other ones. All right, so I'm gonna commit that here and push both these out to do some test build. And that's gonna wrap it up for Missouri 2019. If you enjoy content like this, please feel free to thumbs up, subscribe, and like. I will be doing more and more videos like this, and I would love to see you come along on our journey. Until next time.